Yeah, so we welcome Katrina on stage, and we will have two of our customers joining Katrina shortly, Standard Bank South Africa, as well as Bright House Financial. Katrina?
Thank you. I don't need. Good morning. So also from my side, a very warm welcome to SAP's and SAP Pioneers Financial Services event. And thank you very much for spending the week with us. And also a big thank you to our partners. My name is Katharina Müllers-Patel. I'm SAP's General Manager overseeing financial services and service industries, and really excited to have some time with you over the next days and learn more about your business and where you're taking your future. Yeah, I'm delighted now to kick off our industry Fireside chat, where we will learn from two very inspiring executives how they've been driving digital transformation in their organizations. I would like to welcome Lynne Mays, Vice President of Finance from Bright House Financial, on stage.
Thank you.
I would also like to welcome Khomotso Olabe, Chief Engineering Officer from Standard Bank South Africa.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Great.
Thank you.
So please have a seat. So let's start with a short introduction. Lynne and Khomotso, please tell me a little bit about yourself and about your company.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. It is exciting to be in person, and I'm glad you could make it, even though it's a challenge, correct? So, I'm Lynne Dumais, and I work with Bright House Financial. We were born really 5 years ago out of a long history of MetLife, and we are one of the top sellers of life and annuity products in the United States. As of the end of last year, about $240 billion in assets. So a bit of a startup with some strong equity backing. I feel a little bit like SAP Pioneer in some cases in that. So very excited to be here. I am in charge of our strategic initiatives and was most recently the Chief Accounting Officer. So SAP was a lot of how we started in our foundation.
Yeah, no, morning everyone. I represent the Standard Bank Group. We are the biggest financial services company in the African continent. We are an old bank. We are more than 160 years old, so that's why when I tell the story of our transformation, it will be interesting. So I'm the Chief Engineering Officer, so I look after the engineering for the bank in South Africa, and I'm happy to be here to come and share our story with you. Thank you.
Fantastic. So both of you have gone through a very impressive transformation journey with your respective organization. Can you share some background and also talk a little bit about the underlying business drivers? Lynne, maybe start with you.
Oh, certainly. So the separation from MetLife was really the business driver. So we needed to reestablish our entire infrastructure. So the most important initial effort was around picking a subledger, general ledger, FP&A system. So we started that venture in 2017, looking at a few vendors and picked SAP. And as we started down that journey, about 6 months in, as an organization, we also picked SAP as the data background. So we had to stop, slow a little, and readjust and pivot. But in the end, it was the best solution for us. So we have an end-to-end solution for SAP that takes data from initially 30 admin systems, as we'll go down to 2 or 3, and really pulls that data through the organization and allows us to have really a single source of the truth. So we approached it as we wanted cloud-based. We wanted to be able to focus on insurance and go to an expert that we could leverage for simplicity and transparency, and also a cost-effective way to do it. So leverage the skills and knowledge of SAP. So.
What an incredible opportunity to have the chance to start from scratch,
Yes.
I imagine. Komoot, so what about your transformation?
Yeah, our partnership with SAP and now also with SAP Pioneer started more than 10 years ago. At the time, it came when we assessed the business and realized that what we project to be growth in the future was not going to be supported by our homegrown legacy core banking system. So we partnered with SAP to start to transform the business to prepare it for this growth. And through that journey, we have replaced the legacy core banking platform with a more agile, modular SAP core banking platform. We went even further and also adopted SAP CRM technology. So our customer master runs on SAP, our CRM runs on SAP, as well as our end-to-end finance landscape runs on SAP. So I will say that we are probably one of the oldest customers of SAP, especially in the African continent. And it's been a very interesting journey in many, many respects, through many ups and downs, but there's been more successes, I think, than disappointment throughout the journey.
Okay, fantastic. So very dramatic changes on your side, moving from a legacy landscape into a much more agile, modular approach. I imagine there must have been also some really interesting business outcomes. Can you talk about those and maybe the value you achieved?
Yes, naturally I like to talk about the things that went well because I've been quite an integral part of the journey. A number of things went well. So the first thing is when you transform the business and you move from legacy, the thing you don't want to do, but you have to do, is you have to migrate customers onto the new platform, and which was one of the most painful things because it is quite a high-risk activity. Because at some point you have to, if you go big bang like we did, you have to shut down the bank one night and then move customers across, and you've got very nervous board members thinking that the thing won't come up. So we did that, and I'm proud to share that we've got just over 12 million customers now running on the new platform, which has been important. Supporting that is that the new platform has allowed us to actually introduce new products onto. We used to take months and months in introducing new products. Now I can tell you we do it in weeks. In fact, part of the growth in the last year has been a new product that we started from scratch and introduced this in 6 weeks to the market. And we've been able to write just over 1 million customers in the last 18 months. And we've been able to do that because of the agility of the platform. We've been able to digitize the consumer bank, and now 90% of it is fully digitized at the back of the investments and partnerships that we've had on the SAP program. And we have seen our net promoter score, which is how we measure our client experience, improve significantly compared to peers. Because when we're doing the transformation journey, unfortunately, one of the things that happens is because you're so internally focused, you become number last on client experience. And we've been able to go back to where we were and also skip 2 of our peers in terms of improving that. And I'll conclude to say that of the many engineering disciplines that I run, the team that runs the SAP platform is probably the happiest of them because the stuff never goes down, which is actually quite important also for me to sleep well at night.
So very impressive impact, what I heard, impact on NPS, right? Through the digital transformation, which went fairly smooth, but also now through the new digital access you have, I heard impact on your top line through your ability to drive new products. And I also heard impact on employee engagement, which is very important to drive outcomes. Lynn, what about your transformation?
Oh, thanks. So much like you, we came from 30 plus very customized systems and had an opportunity to really reassess that. So each of those systems had their own logic, data logic built into it. So taking those pieces apart, pulling business events into a central location, and then using those business events. So historically, we pulled accounting, and accounting is sufficient for subledgers and ledgers and reporting, but very challenging as a single source of the truth, especially when you look at the customer experience. So being able to pull actual business events and data and then transform that in the subledger into accounting has allowed us from a product perspective. Now in insurance, we're a little slower on the to-market component of a product, but from a technology perspective, we are able to add new products to the system much more quickly because you're talking about business events that people can relate to and are transferable between many of our products, and then we can layer on the accounting through the subledger. So that speed to market from a product perspective is much better. The other part of the transformation was really from, I'll call it timeliness and reporting. We became basically near real time because we are fully integrated. We came from an environment where one batch overnight would lead to another batch overnight, maybe a failure, and another batch overnight. So what was taking 3 days historically would happen in 30 minutes in our environment. We have an integrated consolidation platform, BPC integrated as well. So as we started to look at the reporting components, we then evaluated what do people need versus what had they had before. We started with a centralized reporting organization where people would build reports for you. And the demand was so high, we went back and asked people, you build them and we'll standardize them and put them into the core reports available. We reduced the amount of reports by 90% by doing that. So I think the underestimation from our side was people's willingness and ability to think differently and change. So that required a big push, but has had tremendous benefit. And also leveraging the format and standardization of the technology allowed us to reduce the chart of accounts from 40,000 down to about 3,000. So just the heavy, from a finance perspective, that heavy maintenance of the systems went away. The ability to traceability and auditability, the risk management components were much more in control. So it was an optimization, not just of the platform and the data, but also all of the surrounding components of reporting and controls. So I'm obviously on the end that is the end result, but it's also allowed us, that single source of data is the same data that's displayed to our customers, to our third party who administers our policies, to the agents and advisors who work with our clients. So we really have one source of data across the organization.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive, right? Interesting also to see that you both saw impact on the time to market.
Yes.
But then also, I think, tremendous benefits from a reporting, single source of truth, compliance perspective as well. Really great to hear that. So Lynn, again, we had two very different situations. We have a very young organization.
Yes.
We have a very traditional, older organization. Start with you. What were the lessons learned in your young setup from this transformation?
Well, I'd say there's lots of people here that could tell you how to do what we did. And I think the biggest challenge is that's the head, right? And the hands. There's also lots of implementers here that will help you do that. I think the biggest part, I would say, is the heart. So it's head, heart, hands. And that emotional buy-in from your associates can't be underestimated. And the other advice I would give you, my father used to say, take 2 trips. So one of the lessons I would say is do some things, start small, carry some things that you know will carry some weight and show some improvement and give you some credibility, and then continue. So we talked about we must be agile, you must adapt, you must change. I think the last 5 years have shown us that you can't plan for everything. So I would say plan, but also adapt and react and honestly have some fun. It's challenging, it's hard, it's lots of hours. We're seeing each other on screens and then finally in person. But don't forget that these are people that is what makes a difference. And I think that making sure that you address the people from not just the head, not just the reason we're doing things, but ensure you get the buy-in and steal their hearts and make sure they're as invested in what you need to do. So take 2 trips, do little things quickly, and remember to have fun. I'd say those are the top ones.
That's very, very great guidance, Lynn. Thank you. Komotso, what did you learn in your transformation?
Yeah, so in the many years that we have traveled this journey, we made a number of mistakes that we learn a lot from. The first one was when we started the journey, we even named it core banking replacement, meaning that the focus of the organization was that something is happening in the back end, it will be replaced with this new thing one day, and then it will all run smooth. And in a way, the journey had lots of difficulties because it wasn't supported inside the organization because it was a technology-only thing. And it was only when we tilted this to be a client-led transformation that we started getting success. In fact, we started focusing a lot more on, okay, what can we do with the platform to launch new products to the market, to change the narrative with our clients in terms of what we'll do. And in the latter years, when we started getting success, those were the things that we're doing. The second thing, which is very similar to your journey, is we became too overconfident at some point, and we're doing too many things. So we're busy with the core banking transformation. We wanted to implement the CRM. We wanted to implement the core master. And that just takes the focus away from doing the basics in the organization. And during that time, we probably had some of the most legendary outages in our IT systems because it was just too much to do at the same time, and we disappointed our clients a lot during that period. And I'll say that the third mistake we made was linked to the second one. We were obsessed with these big releases that, we were going to have this release. It will be once a year, and it will deliver so much functionality that it will excite everyone. But the opposite actually happens, because then that release never gets delivered because it's too big to test, and then it keeps on being delayed. And when we started doing smaller chunks, we started to get lots of success. In fact, I can share, because when we did the journey, we did it only for consumer clients. We're busy doing it now for business clients, and we don't even have a project or program running. We're just doing it in small iterations. One weekend, we just migrate a small number of clients. Nobody even knows that we're busy with that transformation. So I'll say, for me, those are the 3 key lessons that I'll share with all partners and colleagues in the room.
So make sure you put the client at the center, right? And I guess that also helps really to inspire your team, your organization. Make sure that you don't overload yourselves and try to address too many things at the same time. And then, like what Lynn said, do it in small chunks and show these successes on the way instead of betting on this one big release once per year. Great insight, thank you. So Komotso, what's the future now bringing for you? Where are you heading?
Yes, no, let me first say that I was listening in earlier to the SAP and Pioneer leadership team talking about call it the launch of these new platforms, which is quite exciting to see, because I think we've been waiting to understand exactly what the product transformation strategy looks like from an SAP perspective as quite a key partner. The work that we're doing now with SAP and Pioneer is really looking at cloud transformation. We now have been more than 10 years with these assets on-prem, and we don't want to be overtaken and lose out. Besides, the current technology we are running will come end of life. So we are busy with a big program and partnership of saying, how can we then transform the business in the cloud with all the lessons that I've spoken about. We are also doing the journey in terms of our corporate clients, our business clients. We are also actually towards the end of a journey to put all our loans across the whole organization on SAP, which is going very, very well. What I'm also excited about is an initiative that we have started, and it's in the infancy stages, where we are saying, what can we do in the co-innovation arena with SAP and Pioneer, which is really outside the traditional things we'll do together, but it's more to say, is there a problem from our perspective in our market that we can then work together with the partners, and then we can do something really special for our clients, which is something that will leapfrog us and is different from the other things, which is really to pedal just to stay in sync with your competitors. So I'm very excited about the work that we're doing with SAP and Pioneer going forward.
Great to hear. And again, the same themes about your client focus, the need to be agile, to innovate for the better of the clients. Really very interesting.
Yeah.
So Lynn, what's the future bringing for you?
Yeah, for us, so the focus has been for most of this year really is to deal with some regulatory requirements. So to update and finish converting the actuarial platforms to deal with long duration targeted improvements, which is the new GAAP standard for long duration insurance products in the US. And that's consuming. But I would say it's also to, maybe it's day two. You're never done, right? So we have prioritized the critical components. We prioritize the customer-facing components and are now moving towards optimization. There's great benefits to being in the cloud, but if you're running inefficiently in the cloud, it's costly. So there's some optimization components and starting to really look at data, the data that we have centralized as an asset. And as a company looking at that as an asset and I would say listening to the data. So what we have been doing to date is hoping that the data can, or molding the data to meet our expectations, or why didn't they? So mining the data that way, as opposed to looking at the data for fresh ideas and fresh insight. And that's what we're starting to do, and I think that comes from bringing some people from outside of the industry, looking at the data differently, and giving them some freedom and pivoting. And I think that the opportunities for us being fully remote has opened up a new population of people that have been resources for us to also leverage and look at the data. So I would say it's taking a fresh look. It's understanding the value of the data. I think as an industry, people are starting to realize that. I'd say it's also ensuring that you don't apply your own bias to the data. So let it speak to you.
So this idea of data as an asset, right? Let the data speak is hugely compelling. I can only imagine that many companies in your industry sit on a treasure trove of data to be explored, right, and to be listened to. So great advice, and look forward to hearing from you in the future how that's going.
Yes, yes.
and what you're finding and how you're using that to shape your business in the future. So with that, I would like to thank you again for sharing your insights. Komodo, especially also, I know your travel was complicated. You made it just in time, so thank you for doing that. I think you will be available also throughout the sessions to answer additional questions from the audience here. And then Lynn, I think you have another session this afternoon.
Yes.
We are diving into more detail on the Brighthouse financial transformation, which will provide more insights. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Komatsu, for the wonderful session. And now,
Right, so now we have a bunch of questions which came in. We're going to forward those on to the presenters. We don't really have time right now, but we're going to forward them on to the presenters and make sure they're answered for you.
we have the next 45 minutes for the first coffee break, as well as the networking opportunity. Please make good use of it. And when you return, this room will be shaped into 2 different rooms, and we will have banking on the right side of the stage and insurance on the left side of the stage. Don't worry if you can't find it, we will be there to help you find it anyway. So welcome back in 45 minutes.
See the bankers later.